There are places in America that don't appear on any map. Towns that exist in the spaces between exits, in the dead zones where cell towers can't reach, and GPS signals dissolve into static. Most people drive past them without noticing. But sometimes, late at night, when the highways are empty and exhaustion blurs the edge between waking and drink, a driver takes the wrong exit, and the road begins to repeat. Marcus Webb thought he knew every mile of Interstate 40 between Memphis and Little Rock. He'd driven it 100 times for work, always at night, always alone. He knew which rest stops had the cleanest bathrooms, which gas stations sold the strongest coffee, which stretches of road were prowled by state troopers looking to fill their monthly quota. But on the night of October 14th, Marcus discovered that knowing a road and understanding it are two very different things. What you're about to hear is the account of what happened during those 9 hours when Marcus Webb became trapped in a loop of highway that shouldn't exist, driving through a town that appears every 7 miles, encountering the same people, the same moments, the same inexplicable reality repeating over and over. His phone recorded most of it, voice memos time-stamped and documented, growing more desperate with each repetition. Welcome to the faint whisper, where missing person files don't end, they echo. And tonight, we're following a road that doesn't just repeat, it learns.
Authorities are searching for Marcus Haynes, last seen late last night after pulling off I-40 near exit 242. His vehicle was found running, but he's missing. State police say there's no sign of a crash and ask anyone who traveled that stretch overnight to report anything unusual.
Marcus Webb left Memphis at 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, October 14th. He'd just finished a late dinner meeting with a hospital administrator, and the caffeine from 3 cups of coffee hummed through his veins as he merged onto Interstate 40 westbound. The highway stretched ahead of him, a river of asphalt cutting through the Arkansas night, illuminated only by his headlights and the occasional sodium glow of distant farmhouses. The radio played classic rock at low volume. Tom Petty, Fleetwood Mac, the Eagles, songs he'd heard 1,000 times before, familiar enough to be comforting without demanding attention. Outside, the darkness was absolute. No moon, no stars visible through the cloud cover that had been threatening rain all evening. At 11:43 p.m., Marcus's fuel gauge dipped below a quarter tank. He'd planned to stop in Forest City, still another 20 miles ahead, but when he saw the green highway sign announcing exit 242 services, he decided not to risk it. Better to fill up now than push his luck. On an empty highway at midnight, he took the exit. The off-ramp curved to the right, descending into darkness thicker than what he'd left behind on the interstate. His headlights swept across a faded billboard advertising a motel, Sleepy Pines Motor Lodge, clean rooms, low rates, and then he was rolling through a small town that materialized out of the night like a stage set. Main Street was 2 lanes wide, flanked by buildings that looked frozen in 1987. A hardware store with a hand-painted sign, a barber shop with a striped pole that wasn't turning, a diner called Millie's, its neon sign casting pink light across empty booths, visible through plate glass windows. Everything was lit, but nothing moved. No cars, no pedestrians, no signs of life, except the lights burning in windows and the open sign glowing on the diner's door. A sheriff's cruiser sat parked outside the hardware store, empty, its light bar dark. Marcus drove slowly down Main Street, his unease growing with each passing storefront. The gas station was at the far end of town, an old-style service station with 2 pumps under a corrugated metal awning. The price sign read $2.87 per gallon, which seemed about 15 years out of date. He pulled up to the pump and killed the engine. The silence that followed was profound. No traffic noise, no wand, nothing. Just the tick of his cooling engine and the fluorescent hum of the station's lights. Marcus got out and approached the pump. It was an older model, the kind that required you to go inside and prepay. Through the station's window, he could see a clerk behind the counter, head down, apparently reading something. At least there was someone here. That's when he noticed the song. It was coming from the diner across the street, tinny and distant through the closed door, but unmistakable. Free Fallin' by Tom Petty, the same song that had been playing on his radio when he took the exit. Coincidence, he told himself. Classic rock stations play Tom Petty constantly. He went inside to pay for gas. The clerk was a thin man in his 50s, with gray hair and a flannel shirt. He didn't look up when Marcus entered, his attention fixed on a crossword puzzle spread across the counter. The store smelled like old coffee and motor oil. "Pump 2, Marcus said, $40. The clerk still didn't look up. His pen moved across the crossword, filling in letters with mechanical precision. "Excuse me," Marcus said, louder this time. The clerk's pen paused. He raised his head slowly, his eyes meeting Marcus's with an expression of mild surprise, as if he hadn't heard the bell chime when the door opened. Hadn't heard Marcus walk across the creaky floor. Hadn't heard him speak until this very moment. "Pump 2, the clerk said. It wasn't a question. His voice was flat, uninflected. $40. "Right," Marcus said, sliding 2 20s across the counter. The clerk took the money and entered something into an ancient cash register that dinged when the drawer popped open. He made change slowly, counting out bills with the careful precision of someone who'd performed this action 10,000 times. Marcus pocketed the change and turned to leave. "Don't stay long," the clerk said behind him. Marcus stopped, turned back. "What?" But the clerk was already bent over his crossword again, pen moving, as if he'd never spoken at all. Outside, Marcus pumped his gas quickly, suddenly eager to get back on the highway. The town's emptiness was getting to him, the silence pressing against his ears like a physical presence. He screwed the gas cap back on, got in his car, and pulled out of the station. Main Street stretched ahead of him. The same buildings, the same lights, the same empty sheriff's cruiser parked outside the hardware store. He accelerated, watching the speedometer climb to 45 as he left the town behind and entered the darkness beyond. The on-ramp back to Interstate 40 appeared exactly where it should be. Marcus merged onto the highway and exhaled relief. The white dashed lines began their hypnotic rhythm beneath his tires. The radio was still playing, a commercial now. Someone advertising truck insurance. He checked his odometer. 7 miles later, he saw the sign, "Exit 242, service." His breath caught. He stared at the green reflective sign as it approached, passed, receded in his rearview mirror. Exit 242, the same number. But that was impossible. He'd just left exit 242. He should be at exit 235 by now, or 230, heading west. The exits should be counting down, not repeating. He looked at his GPS. The screen showed only a gray void with a blue dot representing his car, floating in digital emptiness. No roads, no towns, no interstate. Just the blue dot, moving through nothing. "What the hell?" Marcus muttered. He kept driving. The highway was straight, the white lines steady. Everything normal, except for the fact that his GPS insisted he was nowhere. And the exit numbers made no sense. He watched his odometer. 6 miles, 7 miles, 8 miles. Another sign appeared in his headlights. "Exit 242, service." Marcus's hands tightened on the steering wheel. This wasn't possible. This wasn't. He took the exit without thinking, some desperate part of his brain needing to confirm what he was seeing. The off-ramp curved right, descending into darkness, and then he was rolling down Main Street again. The same billboard, Sleepy Pines Motor Lodge. The same buildings, frozen in their 1987 tableau. The same diner, pink neon glowing. The same sheriff's cruiser parked in the same spot, outside the hardware store. And from the diner, faintly, he could hear it. Free Fallen by Tom Petty, playing from the beginning. Marcus pulled over, his heart hammering. He grabbed his phone and opened the voice memo app. His hands were shaking. Voice memo what? 11:47 p.m. Okay. I don't know what's happening, but I need to document this. I'm on Interstate 40, or I was, and I took an exit for gas. Exit 242. Normal town, you've got gas, left. But then I saw the same exit again, 7 miles later. Same number. And I took it again. And it's the same town. Exactly the same. Same buildings, same everything. My GPS isn't working. It just shows blank space. I'm going to drive through again and count the buildings, make sure I'm not losing my mind. Time is 11:35. He put the phone down and drove slowly through the town, counting as he went. Hardware store, barber shop, a liquor store with a Budweiser sign, an antique shop called Second Chances, the diner, a pharmacy with a red cross in the window, 7 buildings on the right side of Main Street. On the left, a boarded-up movie theater, a laundromat, a post office, a real estate office, and a church with a white steeple, the gas station at the end, the sheriff's cruiser in the same spot, and the song Free Fallen, still playing from the diner, exactly 4 minutes and 28 seconds long, which meant it should have ended by now unless it had started over. Marcus didn't stop this time. He drove straight through, back onto the on-ramp, back to the interstate. He accelerated to 70 miles per hour and watched his odometer tick upward. 7 miles later, the sign appeared, Exit 242, service. By his 5th pass through the town, Marcus had started testing variables. He tried driving faster, 80 miles per hour between exit. The sign appeared in exactly 7 miles. He tried driving slower, 45 miles per hour. 7 miles. He tried turning around, heading east instead of west. After 7 miles, he reached exit 242 from the other direction. And when he took it, he arrived on Main Street facing the opposite direction. But everything was reversed like a mirror image. The hardware store was now on the left, the boarded-up theater on the right. When he continued through and got back on the highway, he was heading west again. It was 1:15 a.m. Voice memo. 1:17 a.m. I've been through this town 8 times now. Every 7 miles of highway, no matter which direction I drive, I hit exit 242. The town is always the same. Same buildings, same lights, same empty sheriff car. The song in the diner starts over every time I enter the town. It's always Free Fallen, always from the beginning. I've tried calling 911. No signal. Tried texting my wife. No signal. The phone works for voice memos and the clock, but that's it. The Jeeps just shows emptiness. I have 3/4 of a tank of gas. I'm going to try not taking the exit this time. I'm going to keep driving and see what happens. He drove past exit 242 without slowing. The highway continued normally for exactly 7 miles. Then the road ahead began to shimmer, like heat distortion, rising from summer asphalt. Except it was October, and the air was cold. The shimmer intensified, becoming a wall of translucent ripples that his headlights couldn't penetrate. Marcus slowed, approaching carefully. The distortion filled the highway from shoulder to shoulder, a curtain of warped space that his mind refused to properly process. He could see through it, sort of. Could make out the highway continuing beyond, but the image was bent and wrong, like looking through old glass bottles. He stopped the car, 50 feet away from the distortion. For a long moment, he sat there, engine idling, staring at the impossible thing blocking his path. Then, slowly, he put the car in reverse and backed up. The distortion remained stationary, a fixed point in space. He backed up for a 1/4 mile, then stopped. Ahead, he could see the distortion, And beyond it in the distance, the green sign for exit 242. Behind him, when he checked his rear-view mirror, he could see another distortion, identical to the first, blocking the highway in that direction too. He was boxed in. A 7-mile loop of highway with exit 242 at one end and impassable walls of warped reality at both ends. Voice memo 8, 1:44 a.m. There is something blocking the road, both directions. I can't describe it. It's like the air is broken. I can't drive past it. I tried getting out and walking toward it, but the closer I got, the more my head started to hurt, like pressure building behind my eyes. I made it within 20 feet and had to stop. It felt like my skull was going to split open, so I'm stuck. 7 miles of highway and one exit. That's it. That's my whole world now. I'm going to take the exit again. Maybe if I actually stop in the town, maybe someone can tell me what's happening. Marcus parked outside Millie's diner at 1:52 a.m. Through the plate glass windows, he could see red vinyl booths, a long counter with chrome-trimmed stools, and a waitress standing behind the counter, motionless, staring at something he couldn't see. Free Fallin' was playing on the jukebox inside. He got out of his car. The air was cold and still, carrying no scent at all, which struck him as wrong. There should be something exhaust, cooking food, distant farms, but there was nothing. The air smelled like absence. The diner's door chimed when he pushed it open. The waitress looked up. She was in her 40s, blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing a pink uniform that matched the neon sign outside. Her name tag read, Deb. "Sit anywhere you like, hon," she said, her voice warm and automatic. "Coffee?" Marcus stood in the doorway, uncertain. "I need help." "Coffee's fresh," Deb said, already moving behind the counter, pulling a mug from a stack. "Made it about an hour ago. Please, I need to know where I am." Deb poured coffee into the mug, the liquid steaming. She set it on the counter. "You're at Millie's, best coffee in town." She smiled, and the smile didn't reach her eyes, didn't reach anything behind the mask of her face. Marcus approached the counter slowly. The diner was empty except for them. The jukebox played in the corner, and he could see the 45 record spinning inside. Tom Petty, Free Fallin', the label rotating hypnotically. "What town is this?" he asked. "Don't rightly know what it's called anymore," Deb said. She pulled out a pad and pen. "What can I get you?" "I don't want food. I want to know how to get out of here." Deb's pen hovered over her pad. For just a moment, her smile flickered, and something else showed through, something tired and old and infinitely sad. Then the smile snapped back into place. "The special's good tonight," she said. "Meatloaf and mashed potatoes." Behind him, the door chimed. Marcus turned. The sheriff had entered. He was a large man, 60-ish, with white hair buzzed short, and a lined face that suggested decades of hard weather and harder choices. His uniform was crisp, his badge polished, his hand resting casually on its service weapon. "Evening," the sheriff said. His voice was deep, textured like gravel. "You knew." "I'm trying to leave," Marcus said. "I've been driving in circles for 2 hours. The same exit keeps appearing every 7 miles, and I can't get past." "7 miles," the sheriff interrupted. "That's right. 7 miles exactly." He walked to the counter and sat on a stool, his movements careful, as if his joints ached. "Deb, coffee please." Deb poured another mug without a word. The sheriff studied Marcus with eyes that were sharper than his aged face suggested. "You figured it out pretty quick. Some folks drive for days before they notice. Just keep taking the exit, getting gas, leaving, taking the exit again. Never stop to think about it." "What is this place?" Marcus asked. "It's a loop," the sheriff said. He sipped his coffee. 7 miles of highway, one town, no escape. You're stuck here same as does the rest of us." "The rest of you?" The sheriff gestured around the empty diner. There's about 40 of us total. We take turns being visible. Deb here, me, the gas station clerk, few others. We maintain the town, keep it running. Give the new arrivals something familiar to interact with. Marcus felt his legs weaken. He grabbed the counter for support. How long have you been here? Time's funny here, the sheriff said. My truck broke down on this stretch of highway in 1987. Or maybe it was 1988. Hard to remember. Walked to town for help and never left. He smiled without humor. Name's Carl, by the way. Carl Hendricks. This is insane, Marcus whispered. Yep, Carl agreed, but it's consistent. You'll learn the rules quick enough. 7 miles, always 7 miles. The town resets every time someone drives through. Anything you change gets undone. The song in the jukebox always starts over. The lights always stay on. We always say the same things until someone asks the right questions. What happens if I stay here? Marcus asked. If I just don't drive? Carl's expression darkened. Don't recommend it. The loop needs movement. Needs someone driving those 7 miles, taking the exit, maintaining the cycle. You stop driving for too long. Things get unstable. Unstable how? The clerk found out, Carl said quietly. About 15 years back, by my reckoning. He parked his car and refused to drive anymore. Locked himself in the motel for 3 days. On the 4th day, the town started to collapse. Buildings flickered like bad TV reception. The sky turned the wrong color. And the pressure. He shook his head. The pressure got so bad we thought our skulls would pop. The clerk finally drove his loop and things went back to normal. But he was different, Alfred. Quieter. More hollowed out. Marcus looked at Deb. She was refilling sugar dispensers now. Her movements mechanical. Her eyes focused on nothing. How many people have come through? Marcus asked. Hundreds, Carl said. Maybe thousands. Most of them just drive through a few times, get scared, then vanish. Vanish? They find the way out, Carl said. Or they become like us, one or the other. There's a way out. Carl stood, dropping $1 on the counter for coffee he hadn't paid for in decades. There's always a way out. We just haven't found it yet. He walked toward the door, then paused. Advice: keep driving. Keep the loop moving. And pay attention. The answer's somewhere in the repetition. It has to be. The door chimed as he left. Marcus stood alone at the counter with Deb, who had finished with the sugar dispensers and was now wiping down the already clean counter with a rag. Her movements eternal and purposeless. Free Fallen reached its final chorus, and then, seamlessly, began again from the beginning. Marcus drove. For hours he drove the same 7 miles, took the same exit, passed through the same town, returned to the highway. He filled pages of notes on his phone, documenting everything, searching for variations, for clues, for anything that might break the pattern. Voice memo 11. 3:34 a.m. I've been through 23 times now. I'm starting to see small differences, but I can't tell if they're real or if I'm just desperate to find them. Sometimes the sheriff's car is parked at a slightly different angle. Sometimes there's one more light on in the second floor of the antique shop. Sometimes the gas price is $2.87. Sometimes it's $2.89. I don't know if these things matter. Carl said the answer is in the repetition, but I don't see it yet. I'm going to start measuring everything. Exact distances, exact times, exact positions of objects. There has to be a pattern within the pattern. Voice memo 14. 5:12 a.m. The song. It's always Free Fallen, but the jukebox has other songs on it. I went into the diner and looked. There are 45 records in the jukebox. 45 songs from the 70s and 80s. But only one ever plays. I asked Deb about it, and she said it's the only one people ever request. But there's nobody here to request anything. I tried pressing buttons on the jukebox to select a different song. The buttons don't work. They're just plastic under glass. Everything in this town is like that. The appearance of function without actual function. Voice. Memo 16, 6:47 a.m. I think I understand what Carl meant about the loop needing movement. Every time I complete a cycle drive the 7 miles, take the exit, pass through town, get back on the highway, I feel a kind of release, like pressure escaping. But if I stay on the highway too long, if I slow down or stop, I can feel it building. A tension in the air, in my head, in my chest. The loop wants to be completed. It's like a mechanism that needs to turn, and I'm the gear making it turn. But why? What is this place for? As dawn approached, Marcus noticed something he'd missed before. The sky was getting lighter, but the light didn't come from any particular direction. There was no sun rising in the east, no gradual progression from black to blue. Instead, the darkness simply became less dark, uniformly, as if someone was slowly turning up a dimmer switch on the entire world. By 7 a.m. the sky was a flat gray, luminous, but sunless. He pulled into the gas station for the 32nd time. The clerk was at his counter, crossword puzzle spread out, pen in hand. Marcus had tried talking to him several times, but the clerk never responded with more than the bare minimum required to complete the gas transaction. This time Marcus didn't go inside. Instead, he walked around the building, examining it from all angles. The structure was perfect. Too perfect. No weather damage, no wear patterns on the concrete, no oil stains on the ground. It was a gas station in the Platonic sense, the ideal form of a gas station rather than an actual one. Behind the building, he found something unexpected. A door. It was set into the back wall. Gray metal with no handle, no lock, no hinges visible from the outside. Just a door-shaped rectangle of metal flush with the wall. Marcus pressed his palm against it. The metal was cold and smooth and hummed faintly, like it was conducting electricity or vibration from somewhere deep below. He knocked. No answer. He walked back to his car, but the door stayed in his mind. In 32 passes through this town, he'd never noticed it before. Had it always been there? Or was it new? Voice Memo 18, 7:23 a.m. There's a door behind the gas station. I don't know if it was there before. I don't think I'm observing correctly anymore. I'm so tired. I've been awake for almost 24 hours, and I've driven this loop so many times. The 7 miles feel like they're carved into my brain. I keep thinking about Carl and Deb and the clerk, about how they're stuck here, maintaining this place. Maintaining it for what? For whom? There has to be a purpose. Loops don't exist for their own sake. They are mechanisms. They serve functions. What functions does this serve? On his 40th pass through the town, Marcus saw a person he'd never seen before. She was standing outside the boarded-up movie theater. A woman in her 30s, wearing jeans and a hoodie. Her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. She was staring up at the theater's marquee, which was empty. The letters long since removed or fallen away. Marcus slammed on his brakes. The woman turned to look at him. Her eyes were wide, frightened, alive in a way that Carl and Deb's weren't. She looked real. She looked present. Marcus jumped out of his car. Hey, when did you get here? An hour ago, she said. Her voice shook. Maybe 2. I don't know. Time feels wrong. She looked around frantically. Where are we? My GPS got out and I took an exit, and now I can't. Every time I leave, I just end up back here. What is this? Relief flooded through Marcus so intensely it made him dizzy. He wasn't alone anymore. Someone else was experiencing this, which meant he wasn't insane, wasn't hallucinating, wasn't suffering some kind of breakdown. How many stuff you load? He asked. 6, 7, I lost count. She wrapped her arms around herself. I saw the sheriff. He said, "We're stuck here." "My name is Marcus," he said. "I've been here for 8 hours, 40 loops, and I think—" He stopped, an idea crystallizing. "How long ago did you get here?" "Exactly. I don't know. Maybe 6 a.m. And you've looped 7 times." "I think so." Marcus did the math. 7 loops at 7 miles each, at an average speed of 40 full miles per hour. That tracked with about 90 minutes to 2 hours. She'd arrived after he did, which meant new people could still enter the loop, which meant the loop wasn't closed. It was still connected to the outside world somehow. "Listen to me," Marcus said urgently. "We need to drive together. Compare experiences. I've been documenting everything. If there are 2 of us, we might see things I've been missing." "I just want to get out of here," the woman said. She was crying now. "I have a daughter. She's with my mom, but I'm supposed to pick her up at noon. I can't be stuck here." "We won't be," Marcus said, with more confidence than he felt. "We'll figure this out." "What's your name?" "Jessica." "Okay, Jessica, get in my car. We're going to solve this together." They drove the loop together, Marcus narrating everything he'd learned, Jessica asking questions, both of them searching for the answer that Carl had promised was hidden in the repetition. Voice memo 20, 8:02 a.m. Jessica's been here about 2 hours. She entered the loop around 6 a.m. That means the loop is still accepting new people. We're not completely cut off. We've done 3 loops together, and she's noticing things I missed. She says the buildings look wrong to her, like photographs of buildings rather than actual buildings. 3-dimensional images with no depth. I asked what she meant, and she said it's hard to explain, but they don't feel solid. They feel projected. We're going to test something. We're going to try walking into one of the buildings that isn't the diner or the gas station. They chose the hardware store. Marcus parked in front of it, and they approached the door together. Through the window, they could see aisles of tools, paint cans, coiled rope, everything a hardware store should contain. But when Marcus tried the door, it wouldn't open. The handle turned, but the door itself remained fixed, as if it wasn't a door at all, but rather a door-shaped part of the wall. "It's fake," Jessica said. "It's all fake except for the places we're supposed to go." They tested the other buildings. The barber shop locked. The liquor store locked. The antique shop locked. Only the diner, the gas station, and one other place opened when they tried. The church, the white steeple church at the end of Main Street, had a door that swung open easily when Marcus pushed it. Inside, it was cool and dim, with wooden pews facing a simple altar and a large cross mounted on the wall. Dust motes drifted through thin light, filtering through stained glass windows, and sitting in the front pew, facing the altar, was Carl. He didn't turn when they entered. "I used to be sheriff of a real town," Carl said quietly. "Had a wife, 2 daughters, a life that made sense. Then my truck broke down, and I walked into this place, and I never left." "You know what the worst part is?" Marcus and Jessica stood in the aisle, waiting. "I can't remember their faces anymore," Carl said. "My wife, my daughters. I know I had them. I know I loved them. But when I try to picture them, there's nothing. Just blank space where their faces should be. This place doesn't just trap you. It erases you. One memory at a time, until there's nothing left but the loop." "There has to be a way out," Marcus said. Carl finally turned. His face was haggard, ancient. "Maybe. Or maybe the way out is to stop being real. To become part of the mechanism like Deb and the clerk. To let go of everything that makes you a person and just be the loop. Be the gas station attendant forever. Or the waitress. Or the sheriff. Stop thinking. Stop remembering. Stop fighting. Just exist in the eternal present of the repetition." "I'm not doing that," Jessica said firmly. "I have a daughter. I'm getting back to her." Carl smiled sadly. "They all say that at first." Marcus felt anger rising. "You gave up. But we don't have to. If this is a mechanism, it has rules. Rules can be broken, can they? Carl stood slowly, his joints creaking. I've been here 38 years, Marcus. I've seen hundreds of people come through. Some of them stay for hours, some for days, some for years. The ones who stay too long, they fade. They become part of the town. The ones who leave, he trailed off. What happens to the ones who leave? Marcus demanded. I don't know, Carl said. One loop they're here, the next they're gone. Maybe they escape. Maybe they just vanish. Maybe it's the same thing. A sound echoed through the church, the chime of the diner door opening and closing, even though they were 100 yards away. The sound was impossible, but it was there nonetheless. The loop is resetting, Carl said. You should drive. Come with us, Jessica said. Help us figure this out. I can't leave the town, Carl said. I'm part of it now. But you two, you still have time. Drive, keep moving, and pay attention to the exit number. Exit 242, Marcus asked. What about it? It changes, Carl said. Not every time, but sometimes. Pay attention to when it changes and when it doesn't. That's the key. They left the church and got back in Marcus's car. The pressure was building again. That sense of tension that came from staying too long in one place. Marcus started the engine and drove through town, back to the on-ramp, back to the highway. As they merged onto Interstate 40, Jessica was checking her phone. Marcus, she said, look at the time. He glanced at his dash clock. 8:33 a.m. My phone says the same thing, Jessica said. But look at my call history. The last call I made was at 6:02 a.m. when I called my mom to tell her I'd be late. But my phone thinks that call was made 2 hours and 31 minutes ago. So we've been looping for over 2 hours since then, Jessica said. I've checked my phone every loop. Time is passing normally on the phone. But the car clock, the tone, the sky, they're not matching real time. We're experiencing time at a different rate than the outside world. Marcus felt a chill. How much time has actually passed? I don't know. But if we've been looping at normal speed, and each loop takes about 10 minutes, and I've done at least 15 loops, we might have lost hours relative to outside time. Or days. There's no way to know. They reached the 7-mile mark, and the air changed. Not with weather, with certainty. The fog thinned just enough for the road signs ahead to sharpen. Marcus leaned forward, squinting. Jessica's hands tightened around the wheel. At first it looked like nothing. Just another stretch of interstate. Just another ribbon between trees. Then the sign appeared in their headlights. Exit 242. Same font. Same arrow. Same clean, reflective green. Like it had been waiting in the dark, patient, and perfectly sure of itself, Jessica whispered, almost laughing from exhaustion. Okay, that's impossible. Marcus didn't answer, because his phone, dead for hours, lit up. One bar of signal, one message forcing its way through, like a hand through a cracked door. A text from his sister, time-stamped 3 minutes ago. Marcus, where are you? It's been 242 days. Jessica stared at the screen like it was a wound. Days, she said. That's not... Her own phone buzzed a half-second later. A weather alert. Not for tonight. For a date months ahead. And then, both screens went black again. Like something had allowed them to see the truth. Just once. And decided that was enough. They drove past the exit. Refused it. Pushed forward into the dark. Like sheer willpower. Could bend reality. 7 miles. 10 miles. 12. The road stayed straight. For a moment, hope crept in. Quiet and dangerous. Then the radio, silent all night, clicked on by itself. And ahead, far ahead, a soft cluster of lights appeared through the trees. A town. Jessica's throat tightened. Marcus's voice came out barely above breath. It's not taking us somewhere, he said. It's keeping us. They slowed. Not because they wanted to. Because the road demanded it. And as they approached the first sign at the edge of town, Jessica saw something carved into the wood beneath the paint, old, deep, like it had been cut there a long time ago by hands that shook. 4 words scratched into the grain. You always come back. And if you're listening to this on a late-night drive, if the mile markers start to repeat, if a town shows up where no town should be, don't look for the pattern. Don't test it. Don't just see where it goes. Because some roads don't lead you home. Some roads lead you away, and then spend the rest of your life proving you were never meant to leave. This was The Faint Whisper. Disclaimer: The Faint Whisper shares fictional horror and mystery stories told in a true feeling style for entertainment. These narratives are not presented as verified real events, and any resemblance to real people, places, or incidents is coincidental. Some visuals on this channel are created using AI generation tools. Viewer discretion is advised.